Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Glad you're back with me, and I'm happy we get to continue in this book. I can't believe we're already on chapter 6 of our story, Escape Down the Raging Rapids. So far, it's not going very good for DJ. He's having a tough time figuring how to use his paddle, and that seems to be irritating everybody as they're getting wet. Well, we're going to see what happens next, because he's got to get to the doctor. Chapter 6, Overboard. Before shoving off, Brad had said the two rafts would run down the river about an hour and stop for a late lunch. The river was fairly smooth, so DJ had time to adjust gradually to rafting. At first, he was uncomfortable in his yellow helmet, orange life vest, and black wetsuit. But he knew they were necessary, and he began to get used to them. As he learned to control the paddle better, he also relaxed and enjoyed the experience somewhat. It was pretty in the canyon. He saw a doe with her speckled fawn bounding away from where they'd been drinking at the river. Once DJ glimpsed a sow bear with her cub bear up in the brush. He remembered the bear cub he had owned for a while, and he wondered how Coco was doing now. Everything was peaceful in the river. The forest fire slowly disappeared from view. The wind blew the smoke in the other direction, so DJ saw nearly clear skies again. Yet, in spite of the tranquility, DJ had a gnawing sense of danger. It wasn't just from the flea bite and the possibility of the deadly black plague germs were multiplying in his body. The feeling of being in jeopardy was even more immediate. He thought, I wonder why Tobin's got it in for me. Maybe he's got me mixed up with someone else. But who? DJ thought again of the mess he'd gotten himself and his best friend into. He'd apologized to Alfred, but he still felt guilty about slipping off to get his sweater without asking permission. DJ raised his eyes and said a silent prayer. Lord, I'm sorry about doing a wrong thing and leaving the camp without permission. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Please take away my guilt so I can think about what to do now. The boy sighed, feeling better now. The fires were no longer danger to the boys. Oops, sorry. No, that's right. The flea bite still posed a health threat, but DJ figured he'd reach a doctor in plenty of time for anti-plague treatment. That left the river and Tobin's strange behavior for DJ to be concerned about. Well, and his family. They were probably suffering terribly right now, thinking DJ and Alfred were trapped in the fires. I wonder what Dad's doing, the boy mused, arms stroking automatically with the paddle. I wonder what he's thinking. Dad Dillon had been forced to leave the evacuated Camp Sugar Pine as the forest fires burned closer. He got a ride with the ranger in his pickup to the main highway that led back to Stony Ridge. Look, Dad Dillon said as the ranger's pickup slowed on a gravel shoulder. I can't go back home when my boy's out there somewhere. He waved a work-hardened hand towards the surrounding fires. Give me a hard hat and a shovel or something and let me go in with the hand crews to fight this thing. The ranger's long, thin face was already showing signs of being on the fire line for days. He shook his head. Sorry, mister. We're not calling for local volunteers. But I'm a lumberman. I've fought forest fires before. And you may be called to do it again, but not now. A few minutes ago on my radio, I heard 2 people died this morning fighting these fires. 2 experienced firefighters. There'll probably be more before this thing is over. Please, go home now." Dad Dillon fell silent as the pickup tires crunched along the shoulder gravel and stopped. "But I can't just do nothing," he cried, turning imploring blue eyes upon the ranger. "I've got to help." "You'll help everybody the most by going home to the rest of your family." He softened his tone to add, "You can't help your boy, but you can help your wife and daughter. Sorry, I can't help you otherwise, mister." Dad Dillon reluctantly opened the passenger side door and stepped out. "Much obliged," he said. The ranger's pickup pulled away, its long radio antenna whipping in the air. Dad Dillon stood behind the highway that stretched like a string through the tall timber. The road was strangely silent since most traffic had been diverted around the fire zone. Dad looked at the magnificent pines that rose 80 to 100 feet in the smoky skies. He looked beyond their graceful tips. Dad's lips moved, but he spoke only in his heart. "Lord, I'm just a logger, and I don't have the words. All I've got is a terrible pain inside because my boy's out there somewhere, and I can't help him. Show me what to do, please." His eyes were suspiciously bright after a short prayer. He was only vaguely conscious of a four-wheeled vehicle passing, then braking suddenly. Dad looked up as the four-wheeler backed up even with him. The small, wiry driver leaned across the front seat and called through the open passenger door, "Sam? Is that you?" "Hello, Rod. Yeah, it's me." Red Garn was a member of Stony Ridge's only church. He had been fishing at one of the remote lakes, so he was late in escaping the fires. "What you doing here in the middle of nowhere? Your car break down?" Dad shook his head. "I sent my wife home with the car after my boy wandered away from camp with his friend, Alfred Milford. The fires must have cut them off. They haven't come back." "Oh, Sam, I'm mighty sorry. Can I help?" The logger shook his head. "No, thanks. They won't even let me help. Told me to go home." "Get in. I'll give you a ride." Dad stood a moment in silence, listening to the wind sighs in the treetops and watching the smoke curl up from the surrounding fires. "Much obliged," he said, and climbed into the four-wheeler. "I reckon it's a bad time for Hannah and Pris to be alone." At Stony Ridge, Two Mom looked around the house that had a strange lonesomeness, but she knew someone who must also be lonesome. Two Mom turned to her daughter. "You ready, Pris?" "Mom, do I have to go?" We should do this together, dear." "But what will I say to Alfred's parents and his little brother?" "I don't know yet, but they shouldn't be alone at a time like this, and neither should we." She picked up the car keys in her purse and headed for the door. Pris followed reluctantly. Miles away on Mad River, DJ saw the lead raft speed up a little as it hit the first of the whitewater rapids. The boat buckled like a wild horse, first riding high, then pitching straight down, twisting and turning as the power of the river gripped it. Icy spray doused everyone, sliding off the insulated wetsuits. But the rafters were enjoying it. DJ knew as their joyous cries echoed off the solid granite walls. Connie called, "How's everybody doing?" "Fine," DJ answered, hearing the same response repeated by the three other crewmen in the sweep boat. "Then look sharp," Connie said. We're coming up on our first rapids. Tobin muttered behind DJ. Those little things ahead, they're nothing. DJ didn't agree. It hadn't looked so bad when he watched Brad's lead boat plunging through the white water. But as the second raft approached, DJ was apprehensive. He felt the increasing swiftness of the river. The peaceful blue-green water through which the second raft had been paddling changed into white water. Waves leaped up and slapped the bow of the blue raft and spilled inside. DJ had been told that even though the boat wouldn't sink, sometimes it might be necessary to bail so it could be managed better. Bailing would be to take water out of it. The mighty power of the river increased dramatically. The raft was swept along faster and faster. Connie's commands kept the bow pointed downstream and off the boulders now sticking up in the water ahead. Through the spray, DJ saw the river was narrowing dramatically. Connie shouted, "Swift water ahead!" DJ glanced ahead, and his heart seemed to stop dead still. The river made a right-hand turn. As the boat started around it, DJ saw the whole river seemed to be boiling with angry foam. Leaping waves hurled themselves against partly submerged boulders. Connie's commands through the raft brought the raft in close to the right shore where the swift current marked a deeper channel. The tremendous power caught the craft and hurled it downstream in a bouncing spray of white water that drenched DJ. He glanced ahead through the water thrown up by the raft's bow as it hit still swifter water. The boy had brief glimpses of the obstacles he'd been warned were ahead. These included tricky currents, half-submerged rocks, brush, and other hazards. DJ mentally reviewed what he had learned about the makeup of the rapids and gripped his paddle tighter in anticipation of what was about to happen. He felt the raft surge a little as it entered the deep, quiet water leading to a smooth V. This water was called a tongue. The rapids were immediately beyond with all their treacherous possibilities. That would include a boulder just under the water with almost nothing on the surface to mark it. Woo-wee! Odell whooped as the raft began to go crazy in the current's powerful grip. This is fun! Great fun, Renee cried. Fantastic, Tobin yelled behind DJ. DJ didn't say anything. He didn't think it was fun at all. He was feeling scared. Besides, the muscles in his arms, chest, and abdomen were beginning to ache from all the unaccustomed exercise of paddling. Reversal, Connie cried. For a second, DJ was confused, thinking this was an unfamiliar paddle command. Then he realized that Connie was calling out danger in the water. Reversal or hole meant water suddenly turning back upstream into a wild and dangerous way. Oh boy, DJ muttered to himself as his eyes sought out the hazard. He could see enough to guess the upcoming reversal or hole was caused by a rock just beneath the surface. The water flowed over the rock, but instead of going on downstream, the current plunged straight down. This created a whirling, churning area under the surface where a person could be trapped and drowned. DJ saw a big log rolling and tumbling just under the surface as though it had been trapped there for days. Wouldn't want to be overboarded there, DJ thought, paddling mightily. His darting, anxious eyes quickly picked out other parts of the reversal. The currents coming downstream was sweeping from the right. The white water on the top moved upstream to the left, forming a visible line where the two currents collided. Easy, he told himself. Don't get scared. Connie was wisely trying to avoid the reversal. During the instructions before shoving off, she had explained that a hole could flip a raft, stop it, or fill it with water. Though he was watching the river and stroking hard in obedience to Connie's commands, out of the corner of his eyes, DJ noticed the other paddlers. On his left, Odell was leaning forward, half smiling, thoroughly enjoying the situation. Behind Odell, DJ glimpsed Renee. Her face was totally wet from spray that had leaped into the boat, but she also seemed to be enjoying the ride. Tobin was stroking directly behind DJ, his eyes glued to the dangers ahead. Suddenly, Tobin yelled, "Look out!" DJ automatically half rose from his sitting position and swiveled his head to the left to see what made Tobin yell. He glimpsed Odell and Renee also looking to their left. Nobody was looking DJ's way. At that moment, DJ felt a jarring blow to the back of his life jacket. The next second, he was sailing through the air, still clutching the paddle. He automatically took a deep breath and hit the wildly churning water hard. Instantly, he was sucked under. One thought rocketed through his head. I was pushed. So DJ's the man overboard. Wow. Well, I wouldn't like to be in the churning water, being sucked down under it. And I'm sure DJ doesn't either. Well, we'll see what happens tomorrow when we continue reading. I want to pray blessings on you and yours, in your house and out of your house, in the day and the night. Whatever you do, keep dreaming. Keep a story in your heart. All right. I love you. I really do. Bye-bye.